So, you want to be a hacker? That's awesome! Now, here are the top 5 tips which I wish I'd known 3 years ago when I got into hacking and cybersecurity. So, 3 years ago, I was an engineer in the Royal Air Force. So, as far as computers went, I was a bit geeky, but I only knew sort of programming. Like I'd done little bits, like the bits you'd done in school and that. I'd done little bits of programming, but beyond that, I wasn't that familiar with programming or computers in general. So I did all my ethical hacking training. I got clued up on cybersecurity, and now I'm working in the cybersecurity industry. So this is all the stuff I wish I knew 3 years ago, which will make it a lot easier to learn. It will save you a lot of money, and it will take you a lot less time. So here we go, top 5 tips. So number 1, you do not need a computer science degree. Like, don't worry about getting a degree. You do not need it. I work with a lot of people in my office that have computer science degrees, and unanimously they all say they wish they hadn't done them. Like, they all knew that they wanted to get into cybersecurity and hacking, and all the knowledge that they got on their degree, afterwards they had to learn new cybersecurity and ethical hacking things, and that had to go on top of it. And the stuff they learned before didn't really help them and wasn't too relevant to the cybersecurity industry. So the courses that the universities teach, they're a little bit dated, and it's a lot more broad. So don't worry about getting a degree. Do your certifications and do you take charge of your own learning and learn your own stuff. Now, number 2, programming. Do you need to know it to get into cybersecurity? Short answer, no, you do not need it. But long answer, you will eventually. So what languages do you learn? Learn Python and then learn C. If you've never done any programming, Python is probably the easiest language to learn. It's also probably one of the most powerful languages you can learn, and you can do virtually anything with it. You can make games, you can make websites, you can make hacking tools, you can automate your day job. It is so handy. And C is more or less as close as you can get to the hardware level of things without going into assembly and binary and such. But C is as low as you want to go, really. And if you learn C, most other languages are actually based off it. So if you know C, you will be able to learn virtually any other language pretty easily. So programming, learn Python, and then later down the line learn C later, and then you'll be set. Now, number 3, learn to love Linux. Now, right now, 80% of the internet runs on Linux servers, and when you are doing your ethical hacking, you'll be using Linux yourself. So there's a distribution of Linux called Kali Linux, and what it is it's like the hacker's toolbox. So a load of hackers, they took Linux and they put all the tools that they use for their ethical hacking and all their assessments and such, and they made Kali. And Kali is brilliant. Out of the box, you can just use it for all your assessments and things. It is so handy. And so you'll be using that to do your hacking, and the things you'll be hacking most of the time will be Linux as well. Now, don't worry if you haven't used Linux before. Like, I imagine a lot of you are probably either coming from Mac or from Windows. Now, Mac, sorry, I'm not a big fan of Apple anything, sorry. But, Mac's quite closely related to Linux, so you shouldn't have too much issue moving on to Linux. Windows, on the other hand, it might be a little bit weird at first, but if Windows was made in a shed by a madman, then Linux was made by Mr. Spock. It is very logical, it's very concise, everything makes sense, and it is so clean. It's so nice. And the reason that most web servers and such on the internet use it is because it can run for so long reliably. Like if you just leave it like turned on running a web server, I think most Linux distributions can run for like 9 months or so without issue, whereas Windows, like every month or so, you had to reboot the damn thing. But yeah, so knowledge of Linux will be invaluable to you, and it'll be fun. Now, number 4, be careful with your online training. Now, let's use an example from what I did. Like I did what's called CompTIA Security Plus, and to do that, I bought some online training, which was like a mix. So it was a lot of certifications. Then they provided all the training for all of them. So it was CompTIA Security Plus, CompTIA A Plus, CompTIA Network Plus. It was also CI, SSP, CISP, and Certified Ethical Hacker, and they're all in like this big horrific bundle, and all it was just a series of online videos, and each one was just this old guy speaking over PowerPoint slides, and they were horrifically dreary and dull. How I got through them, I have no idea. And even worse was when I eventually finished it and came to take the exam fee wasn't included in the online training fee. Like they didn't provide the exam fee, so you had to buy the online training and then you had to buy the exam. So that was a bit of a kick in the gonads. And yeah, the online training cost like £800 or something, and yeah, learning after that I needed to take the exam, and then when I took the exam, none of the damn material they covered was on the frickin' exam. So it was like brilliant, fantastic. But luckily I decided to be a bit cautious, and before I took the exam I bought a study guide off Amazon. I think it cost me £20, and that it has all the material from the syllabus, and it has like practice exams in it as well. And yeah, I bought that for my Kindle, did that a week or two before the exam, and virtually everything that was in this ebook was on the exam, and that's how I passed it. But yeah, it was like £800 for this online training, which was useless and didn't even pay for the exam fee. It was £20 for this little ebook, which got me through the exam. So yeah, if I'd have just bought the study guide for £20 and then the exam fee for, I think it was like £70 or something, I could have done the whole certification for about £100. So I would have saved hundreds. So yeah, that's probably one of the big ones. Just be careful of online training and what they provide. Like just be aware if they're actually providing you the fee to take the exam, because that can be a little bit of a blow out of nowhere when you've done your training, and then it's like, oh, by the way, you got to pay £200 to take the exam now. So it's like, brilliant. That's what I wanted, to give you more of my money, which I don't have. So yeah, careful with the online training, buy study guides. And finally, number 5, probably the most important one as well. Set up your own hacking lab and practice on that before you do any practical hacking certifications. Now, if you don't know what a hacking lab is, a lot of these practical like online courses, they have you connect over the internet to what's called a VPN, or a virtual private network. And what it is it's a load of vulnerable machines that you can connect to, and each one has a different thing to hack, and they teach you step by step, this is how you hack this is how you hack that one. That one's got a vulnerable web server on port 80, this one's got a vulnerable file server on port 21, that sort of stuff. Now, what you can do, instead of going straight for the online training, which can be a little bit overwhelming when you're doing all this for the first time, like if you've never used VPNs or not used Kali Linux before, it can be very, very, very overwhelming. So I highly recommend you set up your own hacking lab first and practice on your own machine. So what you can do, you can download some software that's called virtualization software. So you can download VirtualBox or VMware Player, and what you can do is you can use that to have your single desktop machine or your laptop run multiple machines inside it. So you could have your Windows 10 machine running a Kali Linux machine, and you could have it running a vulnerable machine as well. and there are images for vulnerable machines out on the internet which have multiple vulnerabilities on them to practice on. And the most famous is probably Metasploitable. So you run Kali Linux and Metasploitable, and you can set it up so that they'll only talk to themselves, and they'll be completely boxed in from the internet, so you don't have to worry about accidentally hacking someone else's computer or getting into trouble with the authorities. You can do it just in the safety of your own computer back at home. So you set that up, practice with that, get happy with the basics, and I think this would have probably saved me 50% of the time I was spending doing these online training courses. And a lot of them, that you pay for how much time you want to spend practicing on them. So I've done my OSCP, which is a certification you can get from Offensive Security, and it's an ethical hacking certification. And that one, you can, when you buy it, you buy it in terms of like either 30, 60 or 90 days. I bought 90 days, and I still had to keep extending it afterwards because you're paying for access to their virtual private network of vulnerable machines. So yeah, I had to keep forking out to extend it so I could practice, so that I was confident I would pass the exam. And even after I'd extended and extended it, I only just managed to scrape my pass, which was awesome when I did it. That's a fun thing as well. It's a 24-hour exam. I highly recommend OSCP though, because it is very, very handy and very, very informative. So yeah, those are all my tips. So quick summary: don't need a degree. You do not need to know programming yet, but when you do eventually need to learn it, learn Python, and then learn C later. Learn to love Linux, because 80% of the internet uses it, and you'll be using Linux yourself to do your hacking. Careful with your online training, and use study guides that you can get off of Amazon and save you a bit of money. And finally, set up your own hacking lab. And that is everything. So hope you enjoyed the video, hope you found it useful. And after this, I am actually going to be setting up a series of videos to show you how to set up your own hacking lab. I'm actually going to take you through a lot of the core material that you'll need for these practical exams. So the idea being this will be a good foundation to sort of turbocharge you through those certifications, and you can take it at your own pace as well. So yeah, look forward to that. If you like the video, hit the damn thumbs up, like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, see you later.